if I don't start sharing stories like this, I, I'm just gonna do it. I'm gonna do it for Kaylin. I want him to remember. Kaylin, I just left your room. We just had this conversation because it was so wild, and I shared it with you, and I want you to remember things like this. This happens to me all the time. Everybody says it doesn't happen to them, and it does, but it just feels extra with me. We've talked about this. There's been so much serendipity and coincidences in my life and the way that I move through the world that this is not a new thing, but this is what I think I just need to share and remind you of and tell this story now. I got a phone call, and it was FaceTime, and I didn't recognize the number. And it was ringing, and I was like, well, maybe it's like somebody trying to get me on another number, which just happened that while I'm talking to you, I got a call from Miss Judy saying that she was calling from a different number just right now. Anyway, this woman, I answered the phone, and it's this sweet, older, black woman. And I say black woman because she thinks she's calling her daughter, and when she gets me, it's just obvious, immediately obvious, that she's not talking to her daughter. So we laugh, and she tells me about how she's calling her daughter to wish her grandson a happy birthday. At first I thought, she says her daughter's name is Karen. And immediately I didn't think about it because I think, oh, she's just calling the wrong Karen in her phone. But it took me a minute or like later to realize, like, I'm not in her phone. I don't know this woman. She's not mixing the Karens up. But also, Kaylin, your birthday was a few days ago. She's calling to wish her grandson a happy birthday. She talks about how crazy the world is now, and, you know, that woman whose mom was taken out of her bed at home, you look like that girl that misses her mom. My mom is gone. I have this woman talking to me, saying I look like a girl whose mom's been taken from her. To wish a girl named Karen, or to call her daughter Karen, to wish her grandson a happy birthday. And I'm just like, okay. Then she starts telling me, I said, you know, we start talking, we're laughing. I said, you know, in a world that is so crazy right now, I'm so glad that I picked up the phone because we can't make ourselves not available to strangers. We can't believe that if something really bad happens, that we are all enemies. And she said, you know, I believe the same thing I used to tell my students. And she starts telling me about her students and how she was a teacher. And they called her Miss P. And then I start thinking about it, and I'm like, maybe she did have my number. Because here's the thing. I started talking, I said, did you ever shop at Whole Foods in Cary? And she said, yeah. And I said, I met you there. I'm the florist. And she says, oh, I do remember you. And I thought, oh my goodness, like, wow. So I talking to this woman for 10 or 15 minutes on the phone. Then she asked me what my name is. And I'm like, it's Karen. And she's like, really? Her grandson's name is Carson. Kaylin's name is Kaylin, Carson, Karen. It's like, so then we realized that we met each other. And I remember now because we talked so much, she says, "You taught me something today." She said, because I told her about how sunflowers move with the sun. So like their heads, like if it's like the sun's facing this way, they do this. If the sun's overhead, they're like this. And that's why some of them are upright and some of them are to the side. And we somehow tied that into some symbology there. That's why I remembered. I had a conversation with this woman years ago, and speaking with her again, it's like we felt it. We felt the same connection then that we did now. She called me out of the blue. I answered out of the blue. If we don't pay attention to the synchronicities and we don't pay attention to the lessons that we learn from each other and why we show up and why we answer the phone when it's not for us, and why we can talk to a complete stranger on the phone for 15 minutes. Like, I literally do believe that my mother used this woman as an instrument to show up for me and for you, Kaylin, to wish you a happy birthday. And then we hung up. I screenshot because we were having this conversation. Every time she left, the phone would go like way off here and I couldn't see, and I wanted to take a picture of her big smiling face. And I took 3, and if I can figure out how to add it into the video, I will. Just so that you could see like how expressive she reminded me of Lydia. So between Lydia and these different conversations that we had, I remembered that I'd met her before. But here's the other thing. Kaylin's, you said this, you brought this up, was how did she call you? Hung up the phone, she called back, and I said, "Natalie, it's me." She said, "No, I'm Natalie Perkins. Don't you forget, my name or whatever." And I'm like, okay. But I said, "Natalie," I said, "does Karen have a 919 area code?" And she said, "Yeah." And I said, "You're dialing 828. She says, "I must be just hitting the numbers wrong." Like anyone could FaceTime me from any area code. I have an 828 area code. This person could be calling me from California. No, they're calling me from down the street, like basically in Raleigh or Cary. And she's dialing her own daughter's area code wrong, 828, 919. I guess she just needed to move. That's still not even the same pattern. I don't know. Like that part you can't figure out. You just have to know that the spirit moves you. But I told her, I said, I could hear her husband in the background. I said, "You trying to call 911 or 919? She said, "Yeah." I said, "You're calling 828. And she said, "There, you figured it out. Thank you so much." Like, stuff like this happens to me so often, like all the time. I just need you to know. And it's not because I want you to know, oh, weird things happen to your mom. It's because I want you to know that these things happen and you need to pay attention to them. Because when I'm gone and some random person shows up for you that I am moving through, I want you to see me. The people that are gone from this material space, the worst thing could you imagine is to love someone and still feel there and no one believe that you're there, that you're not still there. We move through each other every day, dead or alive. This is what I want you to know and understand. Because if it happens to me and you can see it, then you need to believe it when I do that for you. Because nothing is promised in this world. But we are all connected. And I don't want you to forget that. And I love you so much. And I'm sure I'm forgetting parts of this story. We had this conversation. but I think you'll remember it. I just wanted to start. God, there's so much more to this conversation about how she's talking about this woman whose mom was taken from her, and how everyone's praying for her, and how you're not I mean, everything that this woman and I talked about, I needed to hear. I just needed to pull back a little bit to understand what part of those messages was for me. And making this video for you and putting it on This Is My Experience for you, so that if anything ever happens to me, you can remember these stories, because you're 19 now and probably more cared about what's on your agenda next for your social life than this story. So these are for you, and they're for anyone who cares to listen, because this happens in the world. And if you don't pay attention to it, you're missing a whole lot of the blessings, because the veil is thin, baby. I love you so much.